Yeah, sounds good.
Okay. I've got
All
this
right.
out in case we needed it, but
Okay. I mean, if you want to try it, you can go ahead and try it, but you're loud and clear.
that's fine.
Okay. All right. So welcome everybody. Today we're talking about this concept to think big using event sponsorship to take your chapter's fundraising to the next level. We've got Tom Nelson here. He's the Alabama State Representative. He's the NEBA past president, and he's an events sponsorship chairperson for his chapter. So he does a lot of this work in the space of helping to secure event sponsorships and also maintaining those relationships so that they come back year after year and it continues to grow. They've had a lot of success at their chapter. So that's a quick intro for Tom. We really appreciate you coming on today and sharing your wisdom and your experience. So we'll go ahead and get started.
Sounds good.
Okay, so basically I made this outline for us. The things we'll cover, the types of sponsorships that are available, relationship building, how to demonstrate your impact to those sponsors. It's very important. Setting goals and the ask, which is always a little bit daunting for people. So hopefully this helps to ease people's minds about going in for the ask. So what types of event sponsorships are out there? There's monetary, which of course is money, in kind, which is, stuff that you can get, and brand and influence. So Tom, do you want to talk for a second about the different ways that you partner with organizations?
Well, as far as say, cash is king, and cash is always best because it allows you to do, so many different things with it. But in kind are definitely uh, other venues we do there, depending on, like, we use some in kind sponsors with like porta potties and wash stations. So we have multiple events. We have like 4 different events we put on during the year, and so we basically contract with one company, and since we give them all the business, they give us a much better rate than we would normally. But so it's a volume rate, and it's probably, I would say, a 40% reduction on normal price. And when you're talking about putting in porta potties to take care of 1,500 people at an event, that's a lot of porta potties. So that's a very important thing. So those in kinds work very, very well. A lot of people will look at having named events. In other words, they will allow, like here locally, we had the club started years and years ago. It was as a event trying to give people things to do. A Child Challenge. The Child Challenge is our road bike event, and it's over 1,000 cyclists. It brings in people from 33 states and 10 countries because it is a UCI World Qualifier. But early on, 20 years ago, we're trying to grow it and have things happen on the weekend. We started what was called the Noble Street Festival on Saturday, and they're trying to bring people in town to give them a whole thing for the weekend. And we started a criterium, and it was put on by the club. Well, eventually it was turned over to the city, and one of a local dealership, Sunny King, is now it's called Sunny King Criterium. And that's something that we've always tried to avoid as a club, was getting a sponsor and naming just one event, instead of getting people to be sponsors for the club, and therefore they get exposure in all the events. And instead of me having, the Corona Span, the Fat Tire Festival, and whatever is, what it would be for the Child Challenge, we all our sponsors get exposure, and depending on the level of money they get, how much exposure they get. And what we have to look at, and when we're going out there and looking for sponsorships, and especially in using it for events, what is your end game? What's your pitch? And talking to the sponsors. Ours, yes, everybody loves to have events that we get to go to enjoy as cyclists, But for a local bank or a local, you know, building supply store or something like that, unless they are cyclists, they sometimes don't quite see the value. So how we pitch our things as far as the reason we put on events is, one, to try to bring people into the area. And that's how we pitch the events, is that these are economic development activities. And when we start putting it together event, first year, we hope just to break even. And that's including with some sponsorship dollars in there. But what we're wanting to do is to be able to provide value for exposure to these people. One, it's, whether it's names on the back of t-shirts, signage, things in the paper, things we put around town, so their company names gets out there. But it also brings people into the town, which is a form of economic development, which brings money into a town, which increases your tax base, which it helps every business. And that opens up the businesses that we can talk to, because we are looking at trying to put on an event to help promote the entire area. So that's kind of how we look at things in there. We have, as your slide up here, we got different levels. And depending on, what level they are, ours, because we've been doing this for a while and because we have so, between all our different events combined, there's roughly cycling events that the club has started or doing and put on brings about 4,000 people to the area a year. And that's not talking how many people come ride cold water. That's just talking to coming to the events. And because of that and the amount of exposure that they get, our levels now are pretty high. A premium or the primary sponsor is $7,500. A secondary headland sponsor is $5,000. A champion is $2,500. Supporting is $1,000. Then we have a patron is $500. But that's because we have the number of people. They didn't start out that way, but they've grown to that. And we even have some that, and the primary starts at $7,500, but we've actually had people that give, upwards of $15,000 towards an event. But again, it's what is it bringing into their area. So with those tiers, we are trying to make it where everybody can get involved at some level. And it can be, that tier can be either cash or it can be in kind, or a combination of cash and in kind. Like within, the city of Anniston, we get money, but during that tire festival, they're providing all kinds of support. I mean, we're getting the use of the park, we're getting fencing, we're getting roll-offs, we're, for trash, we're getting security, and we all factor that in. And so although they may give an X amount of money, their rate is a lot higher sponsor because of all the in-kind stuff they give us. So when we start looking at those levels of that, it can be both ways. And we do want to do is make sure that the people do get some value, some recognition. T-shirts. Now, t-shirts may not seem like a whole lot, but when you're distributing over 2,000 t-shirts, for one event that's going out there, and people are wearing them all around town all the time, and those primary sponsors and names are quite big on there. When you have the pictures of things at the start finish line, the Chia Challenge, and these these upper level sponsors have these 3 by 9 foot poster boards that are on the finish line chutes, are giving even more benefit. During the race itself, as people are coming in, we have an announcer. Frankie Andrew, former professional cyclist, has been our announcer the past several years. And of course, while he's in there talking about people coming in between things, he's going down and hitting those sponsors, thanking them for being here, thanking them, the ones that have putting into it. And, the more money they're given, the more times their name gets mentioned. And we've actually had picked up a major sponsor one time, wasn't even solicited. They were at the event as a cyclist and came up to my wife, who was the ride director at the time and did sponsorship here back then, saying he wanted to get involved and help sponsor it. And she didn't know who he was. And he turned out he was the CEO of a major health facility that's just, mental health for here locally. And she sent him the stuff. And they came in, like he said, well, I want to do more than that. I want to be able to have cycling caps, and I want to help pay for that. And I want to be able to pay for prize money, bring in more professional people. And, he worked over for like 5 years or 6 years, $15,000 a year. And that was just because of them seeing the event and how seeing what the exposure other people were getting. So it grows. Starting out takes a little time, but once you get going, then it tends to be self-perpetuating. One of our things, especially in a large group, is it's needing transportation. If you're having a large event, you're trying to get things moved around. Yes, we all have trucks, we all have low-ball trailers, but a nice big box truck that you can put things in, protect out the weather, and lock it up is nice. And one of our major dealers, Sunny King Ford, they provide us vehicles for that, and also sometimes for SAG vehicles. Honda of Alabama for years gave us vans for the SAG support on the course and moving around, and that was part of their stuff. We have a local person that most of our sound equipment at the start belongs to me, but every rest stop had sound systems with we're talking large 15-inch speakers, iPods running around blasting music you can hear, as people are riding up a hill. And so we a local vendor who does sound rental basically provides us like 6 or 7 sound systems to put out at rest stops. Again, that's just part of their sponsorship. We work with the local Emergency Management Association and the Calhoun County EMA, and they have very good radios and repeaters. And when you're trying to have people in spread out areas, having those made available to us do so much for our communication. And that, along with the ham radio operators work with us, we use for communication. Through EMA, we get digital signs that we can put out, for traffic control. There's just so many different things you can think of. Anything you can think of you might need or potentially need or make your event better. First off, see if you can how much that you can get potentially donated, for their exposure, or maybe a combination of sometimes it's even a combination of cash and donation, and get a higher level. And when you're doing that, we have to make sure that people are getting the exposure and see what they're thinking they're getting their money's worth. We do occasionally maybe have one particular thing, like it may be an event, and that this particular, Friday night we have this band, and we have a banner saying, music provided by whoever was, not only was the band, but who was also, paying the support for it. Sometimes it may be that somebody just can't afford maybe a certain level, but they want to do something, and say, what can we do? We don't want to dilute from our other sponsors, but just maybe give them one little thing. I'm sponsoring a breakfast, and it just during that breakfast you have signage put up that brought to you by so and so. And again, when people are eating, say, you see so and so here, thank them. Help out providing your breakfast, your lunch, or your beer, or whatever it might be. There are a lot of things out there that you can do, and you have to be able to. Uh, it's it's important that you have, good relationship with these people, that you support their businesses, it's promoted in some way. If something comes up along the way, you try to help make sure your club members understand that these people are supporting us. If you need this, go see so and so. Looking for a new car, go see so and so. Do things you can to promote these businesses that have been supporting you.
Yeah, that brings us to this next topic about relationship building. These events can really create strong partnerships within the community. So, Tom, when you and I talked about this, and with Philip too, you really mentioned how consistency is important. So, can you talk a little bit about this concept that is sure
No,
it's
yeah,
transactional, but the
probably
relationship has to be there.
the worst job probably anybody could have in any organization is to raise the money. I
Yeah.
see you're laughing, Jen. I mean, because it is having to do that and go through that and keep track of that. It is, people don't like having to go ask sometimes for that, asking money. Uh, and especially when you're starting out to do it. And that's why what you're trying to do is well, one, if every year it's a different person going out and talking to them, again, there's not that relationship, there's not that trust factor in there, especially starting out. You know, now our club, the Fourth of July Challenge, we've been doing this for 30 years. And so it is well known, and then they know why the club comes, it is maybe a little bit easier, but still you don't want to every year change. You want to have some consistency. You want to, because you go to become involved in your chamber of commerce. You go to their events, and whether they have a breakfast event or some evening event, and with all the people, business community come around, it's a great place to be because you network with people. You get to know you find out who controls the purse strings, develop it where they know who you are, they know your face, they know who you're associated with. And it may not, you may not get them the first year or the second year. It may be the third time or more before they actually step on board, because sometimes they want to see what you're doing, especially when you're first starting out. And once you start developing those relationships and developing that reputation within the community that you deliver, then it tends to get a little bit easier, because they know that yes, you do this, you're going to produce this, and not that we're going to give you money and then you turn out that it doesn't happen. So whatever you sit there say you need to do, you need to deliver that. If I say you're going to get this amount of exposure, be sure it's delivered that, and they know it. That you're going to be on t-shirts, all our sponsors, depending on what level they are, they all get t-shirts brought to them. And, if they don't come, they're dropped off at their place of business. And they also, if it's going to be an event where there's a dinner or whatever, they get tickets. They get to come eat dinner, spend people with, be out there. And that's included in their package for what the benefits they get. Most of them don't come, but some do. And we invite civic leaders to come out to the events, council members, get people involved. Let's see what's going on. And then the other thing we always want to be able to do is to collect data. We want to know who came to our event. Where did you come from? How far did you travel? How long were you here? How many nights did you spend? Did you do anything else while you were here? Did you visit any other local attractions? Did you eat dinner here? Did you buy anything here? Are you busy in their stores? Are you planning on coming back? It's all that type of information that you collect, then that can be used to develop the economic impact statements. We're fortunate that in our area, we have Jacksonville State University. They have a Department of Economic Development. The person in there can take this information and do those economic development studies and give us a number of what our impact was. And so we can sit there and say, when I'm sending out information, as we're, it's first of the year and I'm a little bit behind right now, but we send information out to our sponsors and say, we just finished up 2023 cycling events that NEVA started and sponsored, brought in over 5,000 visitors with a $2 million economic impact for the area. And then and now what do we have planned for this year? And then these are the events we got planned, what the dates are going to be, a little brief description, and then a little paragraph that says your sponsorship dollars go to, help putting these on. But not only these go on, then as a nonprofit, anything money that's left over, we put back in the community in youth cycling initiatives, helping our high school mountain bike clubs, working on repairing trails, developing trails, helping equipment, so we support these trails to bring people in to the area. And that's the whole goal. What we're doing them is to get people to come, because it's, so many of our areas where we have, big trail systems are usually on smaller towns. Birmingham's great. They got Oak Mountain right there. And there's a lot of trails around that area, but so many places you have to travel out. But we're a small town who lost the largest employer, which was the military in 1999. And so now you're looking at what can you do to offset that. And ecotourism is one of the things we look at. Where in Alabama, they're averaging anywhere from 5 to 6% per year increase in tourism. Our county is twice that. Every year, about 11 to 12% higher than the year before. And a lot of it's because of mountain biking and the trails and things we have available. Because we're fortunate with the terrain we have. You can build trails lots of places, but you can't build mountains. And so we are fortunate that we have some great terrain. Coldwater with 4,000 acres. It's we're pushing 40 miles, but our goal is to be around 75 miles of trail up there. And it's still, though, you're out there and you on a trail and you don't see anybody else because the trails are so far apart. It's not like you're riding, you're seeing, look over there a ways, you see another trail. You don't, because except for where you come to intersections, you feel like you're out in the middle of nowhere, which is just a phenomenal event, a local great thing to have. But we are fortunate to have good trail systems, and the data we've collected just shows the impact, which gets the people in economic development, within the county, within the city, within the state, saying, "Hey, this is doing something big," and then they want, and it gets to be self-perpetuating, and then more money comes in because you see the growth. But you got to start somewhere, and start small. Start with a small event, a couple hundred people, whatever. Get out there, spend your time. But again, promote it. You're doing it. You're trying to improve our community. We're trying to improve what we're doing for our area. It's not necessarily we want to do this just because I want a great place to ride, which we do, but that's not the part we put out there. That's the byproduct that we all benefit. Sponsors will go through through times. They might go through a rough time for economically, and you can lose a sponsor. You can see a change in focus. We had one of our very big sponsorship. It was, local, well, not local, it was the power company. It's part of the Southern Company, but the Alabama Power, and they're big and they sponsor a lot of things. But you will see that the people in power, those large corporations, they tend to every few years, people moving up the ladder are getting transferred. And so, the past several years that we've been working with Alabama Power, we're now on the third Eastern region of Alabama vice president of Alabama Power. First one had a great big, she was big into gardening, did a lot of stuff with the botanical gardens. They sponsored the club, but then the next one person was saw the economic development potential of it, and then the one we have right now is into kid programs. And so as things have changed with that leadership, things change in how you pitch to them. So now that the head of that particular local area, this region now is in the kid programs, even though it's a club sponsor, we sit there and say their money is being directed towards the high school mountain bike programs. So all our high school mountain bike programs can apply for a grant from us, and it helps cover their administration costs. And for that, they put the NEBA logo and the Alabama Power logo on their jerseys, t-shirts, whatever, and they help work one of our events as volunteers. Again, it's get the kids to getting involved into the area. It may just be acting as a crossing guard at controlling traffic during one of the events, or different things. Sometimes it's after the event's over, helping clean up, break things down, but getting them to be involved from that aspect of of what the clubs do, and to also give back. So that's one of our requirements for the grant, is that yes, we will give you money, you put the logo, and we want at least 25% of your club members to come work for a few hours. It's not a big ask, but it gets them involved there. And then there's sometimes you can't change things to make things better. Sometimes they just focus change and you lose a sponsor. And we've lost some very large ones, but fortunately we've been able to make them up in different ways. As your events grow and you start getting the numbers and you're showing the people coming back, then you start reaching out to Chamber of Commerce. Depending on what state you're in Alabama, our legislators have access to funds to help sponsor events. If the money comes from the tourism department. So if it's something that's bringing people in, your local state senator or your local, House of Representative person that's on the state level in Alabama they have grants that they can you can apply for. And from the representatives, I think this last year was like $2,600. State senators for like $5,000. So they're nothing to sneeze at, for sure. But those are for local areas, and so you get those relationships with those, not just your county officials and your city officials, but look at your state officials, because there are funds out there that go towards tourism if you're bringing people into an area. So
that's a great point.
Yeah. So that's one of the things of looking about if you're looking at it from economic development, if I'm just putting on an event that's only going to be servicing my local people that already live here, it's not really raising money for your area. It's not promoting your area. So you want to reach out to, other venues. When we sit there on our events, and we get, flyers made that we will ship to bike shops and posters, or put them in, like the welcome centers at the Chamber of Commerce, or even we even put things like Challenge, like at the welcome centers when you drive in between Georgia and Alabama. Those side things, the rest stops that the states put on, we put things in there. You'd be surprised where people may see something, pick it up, and you will get somebody. And then there's other, within different trade areas, and of course Facebook's big, social media is big. Having, and I know Philip's worked on this a lot, having a good social media presence, somebody that will work that. And that's one of the things we've done the past year is we're paying one of our local guys who does a lot of that stuff to do it, to stay on top of it. Because you can do it as a volunteer, and after a while you burn out. You get him paid, a little pay for it, and they do a little bit more, and does a great job, and brings a lot of people with somebody's got to stay on top of that stuff and post it and make the, get the pictures, get the video, keep it fresh. And that sometimes that can be a good investment to put into, is find somebody that's big in that will spend some time and spends, that has the expertise to put those things together. I know the what's it, the Canva thing that we you can use from that. I know Chase, he's been using that already. But there are different ways you can go about it there. Now, this is the fun part. How do you ask for the money?
A lot of people hate this part, but we're trying to break it down a little bit.
Including me. I hate that part, and that's why we hired Jen, because that's the part I'm not good at. I'm good at all the other things, but when it comes down to the ask, I'm not good at it. So let's figure that one out.
Well, first of all, there is always the low hanging fruit. There are the people that there are businesses out there that tend to get involved and always sponsoring something. They're just community minded, and they do that. And being at an event that where you see one of those people there, and somebody your club knows them, doesn't have to be you. If you don't know them so well, but somebody of your club knows them, you're at an event, you sit there and say, hey, Phil Webb over there pretty well. Can you, hey, kind of introduce me? Just kind of, y'all walk up there and start kind of conversation and get the conversation going and all, and things lead into one another. And then it's like, okay, then you develop that relationship, that person. So you may not do it then, but then you say, hey, I'd like to call and talk to you about this event we're having. You mind having a few minutes of time? And sometimes they'll say, well, tell me about it now. I got a few minutes, or call me at work or whatever, or they may give you somebody at their work to call and talk to. But there are those people that are because of they're always involved in different things and always sponsoring other things, that you go hit them up. We'll talk to them. Find out, when you're at trail and you see people riding and you find out where they work. Sometimes, you find out that they're high up in management. We got one of our sponsors now that he's the local manager of Eastman chemical plant here, and he had moved to the area. His kid's on the high school mountain bike team. I run into him, hit him up, start talking, about the high school mountain bike team and what we're doing to support it. And, we'd love to get their company involved, send them some information. Didn't get the first year. Every time I run into him, I talk to him, and they're on board now. They're a sponsor. I try not just to call somebody just that has no clue, no concept, no relationship at all. Now, I'm also, been in this area for quite a while and quite involved, and from whether it's Rotary, different things, and then clients. So I know a lot of people that way. They've also seen my involvement, putting in the time, putting the effort, working at events, and not just, I'm just out there asking for your money and want you to do this, that I'm personally involved in donating my time to the area. And whether it was, when my kids were scouts and doing Eagle Scout projects, or our local museum, which has live animal exhibits, and all their animals, and for past 40 years we have taken care of all their animals in that facility at no charge. That type of capital goes a long way, and when people see that you're involved in the community, and just not just somebody asking for money, they see you're also you volunteer, you do things, whether it's you're working with the chamber or whatever, and being onto it. Find out what they're into as far as, be surprised how many people out there are riding bikes that you don't know about, that you may not even know they're out there. They might not even know you have a club, and invite them to come out to one of your rides. Try to get them involved in the club. When we are looking at our board and trying to bring in new people on the board, we do tend to look at these things as, well, this person, rides a mountain bike all the time, and they come to work on trails, and so they would be a good board member. And they can be good members too, but also finding, I look at a board helping given direction, and trying to bring in community leaders, diversity. Just don't want a bunch of guys on there. We want to get women on there. We want to get minorities on there. We want to get people that, in our particular instances, that ride, not just, they may just do gravel bike. They may just ride their townie on Wadaga Trail, but there's still people that cycle and can get them involved. So trying to reach out and that way to get, the people in the community involved. And then you get those contacts again, that somebody knows somebody that you can talk with. It's developing, it's the networking. Keep networking, keep trying to build those relationships. Then the ask really gets easier. I was asked to come speak to the Rotary Club in December, and it had to do with, I'm actually a Rotarian myself, but about veterinary medicine, how it's changed over the years. But while I'm there, I said, and I look around the room and I said, so club sponsor, club sponsor. If anybody else in here wants to hear about what you can do, because they know about the events that are going on, and then we get every several times a year, somebody will send us an email. Hey, tell me about your sponsorship. What's available? Because they see what you're doing. And as you come along, people want to get involved. They want to be part of it. And the collecting, again, cannot overemphasize the importance of having the information of once you get an event going, is getting the information about the people coming there, try to get some idea of kind of impact, because then you can sit there and say, for every dollar that you put in a sponsorship, we will turn that around 20-fold in economic impact for our area. Now it says, find something else anywhere else that will give you that type of return. And we have the numbers to show it. And then I say it just gets, as you do it with time, it's not a quick fix. You're not going to get where we are in NEBA in a year or 2 years or 3 years. It's going to take time, but it grows each year. And you got to start somewhere. You got to start somewhere. But you will find that you will be able to do so much more once you get the business community involved than you're ever going to do with trying to rely your club just on membership dollars.
That's a great point. So yeah, I just really want to reiterate what you said, Tom, about if you do all this work in advance, you've got your community impact study, you've got the impacts of the event, you've got the transactional pieces of it, like what does the sponsor get? They get their name on the shirt, they get on the banner, they get on the website. If you have this whole, menu of items laid out for your sponsor, then you also have this relationship. Maybe they've been introduced by someone else or you met them somewhere. Then the ask kind of just feels natural because you can just tell them, we have this event coming up. This is what we need. This is how it will help us. And it seems to really align with what your company likes to sponsor. And then it doesn't feel like this daunting, like you just walked in their office out of nowhere and you're asking for something. So that it makes it feel easier. And that's probably my biggest piece of advice for the ask.
And early on, you are not going to have the data of, what the economic impact, because you haven't done one yet, but you can get data of similar events to say, so this area did this, and this is what it produced. Again, this is back to road cycling, but there was an event in the state of Alabama called the Back Road Century Series. And it was like 15 century rides across the state. And if you did so many rides, you were the champion and you got special recognition. But there was they had a guy from Auburn who did economic development, studies, and took all the information from all those events. And you would basically see each event, what it would do, what it produced, and then collectively what the entire series did for the state. And the numbers were phenomenal. But of course, that information is a lot older, but they could sit there and you can just look at this ride was, had a smaller ride, it only had 200 people, but what its impact was, and the larger the rides. And so there are things out there you can find to get some idea of what the impact would be. So even though you don't have it initially, you say, this is what a cycling events do. Just like when you're trying to build trails and get money to build trails, there are economic impact studies that were, done on Coldwater, what they expected, it was going to bring in. There was a phenomenal one done, in Northwest Arkansas, in the Bentonville area. It's a great one that, was done in Duluth, again, on in the Wright Center were done. So you can get information showing the impact of what trail systems will do. So I even say, okay, this is what, this is what mountain biking can do at impact, having these trails. People will come in here, we have this event, and you can actually give an idea to people, what, quantify it, what the potential return is going to be. And yes, it's going to give you exposure, but we're doing this to bring people into our area. That's going to help the entire area. And then it also helps our area in, the old thing they talk about, quality of life. Businesses looking to want to relocate somewhere, where they bring their employees, what do my employees, what they have access to, what recreational activities they have access to. And those are things that, again, you can bring out that it's, the benefits that you is going to give. Yes, we're going to bring all these people into our area, and that's going to bring in impact. Then it's also going to allow our local people to participate in an event that they may not be able to normally go to and travel to, because we will have one here locally. And so you could pitch both ways on there. I'm going to bring people in, but it's also going to help our local people, because it'll give them an opportunity to experience something that they may not able to get to experience before in a large, event. And then you start, pitching that we are going to have, so many, sponsors, some underprivileged youth to come in and participate in, and their entry fees are covered. There's ways you can, make it very, very appealing. You just got, be creative, rethink, find out what's important to the people that you're looking to sponsor, to be your sponsors, because there are a lot of ones out there that are, their big thing is just, helping youth, helping people. It may be that somebody, their big thing is helping pets. Okay, well, what can I do? So much of this money, extra money, we're going to give a donation to the animal shelter. Whatever you're going to do, find something that's going to pitch and these people that are to open their wallet and give you money.
That's good advice. So we'll open up for a Q&A now. Anybody have any questions for Tom or for, us on the SORBA side, or any questions at all?
No, I just wanted to say thanks to Tom and you guys for putting this on and, just giving them some insight. We're, hosting our 9th annual gravel ride here coming up in March, and gaining good ground on it as we're taking it over, back from Chain Busters being involved. But, we're navigating and trying to figure out quickly how to, be able to get through that, to be able to, support this as a 501. It's a good challenge, but, we're growing. We have 130 plus members on average, annually renewing, and we're no mountains down here in Northwest Florida, but we're doing good things and turning out some good opportunities. So I appreciate the insights, and I'm going to take some of this to the table with the board and with the team. So appreciate it, Tom.
And gravel, I mean, gravel is growing so tremendously. It's growing so great, and it's. And also doing as your group doing the race as opposed to a promoter, you're going to do it for a different reason.
Right.
You're going to do it because you're wanting to promote your area. I'm and promoters are doing it. They're looking at just to make money.
Yeah.
And they're not going to maybe do the extra thing and every year add something different. What can I do to make it better? And so sometimes when you turn over large entities and municipalities and city voters, it says, what can I do to make it easier? And it says, well, let's not do that. It costs too much and so and so. But those little extra perks, you know, they add up and they grow. And people that come to those events, what you want to do is find that, you know, after your post-ride survey, that, you know, you get 98% say, I want to come back, or I'm going to recommend this to a friend.
Yeah.
So there's all those little extra things that you'll do as an individual group that promoters aren't going to do.
Sure.
And then you make it your event, and it's not just somebody else's event. After some 20, forget how many years it was, the Shell Challenge, and we had a guy who was the ride director for 13 years, and he got burnt out, and they were trying to get somebody else to take it over, and nobody's wanting to step up. And so the club in 2014 turned it over to a group out of Atlanta, and it was a disaster. And we took it back over because it just was bad.
Yeah. Well, what we've found, and nothing against any of the big promoters out there, that, you know, we're hosting the race, our hearts are there, we're wanting to be cheering everybody on, we're wanting to get that camaraderie going and local serving local.
Mm-hmm.
You know, when those guys are coming in, you know, and we're a 501 just trying to make it by on membership and whatever donation we can get. I mean, we maintain 3 large trail systems here. We do a lot of trail riding, and we do have some elevation change. I'm on the MTB side rather than the gravel. I'll do a little bit of both, but yeah, I just, after a couple hours of pedaling straight down a gravel road, it just doesn't make sense anymore. But, you know, trying to maintain and trying to, you know, keep things going and keep that promotion going to get, you know, people on board. Yeah, the promoters, it doesn't serve our fit in this type of event, but this is a great turnout, a great event. You know, we usually average about 130 to 150 riders. And it's a good opportunity to just be recognized for what we're doing throughout the northwest end of Florida. So we enjoy it. It's our one one-off race in the gravel section, but we do a lot throughout Dirty Duros throughout the summertime in the trails for mountain bike. And you know, we got a couple of other rides. Our Epic, we just passed 15 years on it with the Toys for Tots drive. We had over 115 folks out riding that day that donated toys to, you know, the Toys for Tots drive. So we're catching good wind. We just got to get the monetary end of it. So again, I appreciate it.
Yeah. Well, I mean, again, it's being consistent, and it will grow.
Yeah.
Because people will see what you're investing in the community, and it grows. And you're going about the right way.
Appreciate that for sure.
I just wanted to say a quick thank you to Tom and Jen and to Philip too for putting this on. Is very helpful. I have to hop off and coincidentally get on a call with my event committee. So some really helpful tips here, and I really appreciate that. A lot of the things that I've kind of been stressing, you reiterated and gave me some new good ideas that I highlighted. So I really appreciate that.
Well, you will find that within, you know, sometimes within in people and you're working with your club and group, you'll see, you know, there are some people think, oh, I don't care about that. I just want more trails for me to ride, and not thinking about the other stuff. And I said, well, that's great, but this is how you get those more trails. You know, you get those more trails. You can go out there and we can do all this event like that. You can go out there, we'll spend us money, and we'll build 2 or 3 miles of trail. Or we keep promoting these events and get people to come in here, and the next thing you know, Inland Alabama is giving us 1.1 million to build, you know, a lot more trail. We can't raise that money, but you get that recognition through the state that you do things, and then those big dollars come along. So.
Well, I'm going to hop, but thank you guys again.
You're welcome.
Thanks for coming, Lisa.
Appreciate it. Yeah, thank you.
Thanks, Lisa.
All right, well, we should probably wrap up. I'll go ahead and let's see, stop the recording.